Welcome, everybody, to the Digital Nomad Experts Podcast by Beach Commute. Today, you've got Jeff and Marissa, and we are going to talk about the 6 digital nomad careers the internet lies to you about. This is an interesting one because we talk at length about which jobs are really good, really conducive to being a digital nomad. And we look up these lists just out of curiosity on the internet, because there's tons of them. There's all these lists about which digital nomad jobs should you do. And we're always scratching our heads when we look at these lists because we've been doing this for a very long time. And on the ground, meeting hundreds of people, a lot of these careers in quotes, we've never seen before. And so we suspect that a lot of these lists are created by people who are not digital nomads. That's the best way that I can figure it, is that there's just a list that's created, and then people regurgitate this list and maybe add something, subtract something. And there's just like this perpetuation of this strange list of digital nomad jobs that aren't real. They're real jobs for sure, but they're not really digital nomad jobs. And people read this and go, oh, I'm going to be XYZ and I'm going to be a digital nomad. And I think it's irresponsible. And so we kind of got like a little bone to pick, and we want to talk about it. Yeah. And before we get off on that tirade, maybe not a tirade. We want this to be helpful.
This is helpful.
This is a helpful podcast, but we have to explain some of these things.
Yes, want to steer you in the right direction, not the false careers that you believe you maybe should do if you want to become a digital nomad.
Because we have some very good examples of real digital nomad jobs in episode 120. Where we talk about, we put in actually a lot of criteria in order to qualify for this top list of digital nomad jobs that we produced. So definitely listen to that episode because you will get steered on the path of, okay, these are legit solid jobs that could ensure that you become a digital nomad, and you can actually do it long term. It's not one of these things where it's like, okay, I'm burned out already. So listen to that episode. But before we get into that, Marissa, it's almost Christmas. How you feeling coming into almost Christmas?
I'm feeling much better than I have in like months, Jeff. I am healed from COVID, from sicknesses. My brain works again. I can think. I'm feeling good. It's a wild new place to be. And I think it's because I know that Costa Rica is coming really, really soon. I am close to getting back to sunshine, pure vida, ocean, sunsets, all the things that I love. So it's like and also, we're recording this, and you said it's almost Christmas. Yesterday, I think, was the winter solstice. So now the days are, we've just shifted. We're starting to get more light, and I feel like I've turned a corner with that, and I am like ready for 2024. That's how I feel. How about you?
Yeah, same. I mean, I know winter solstice in my head because it's the darkest day of the year.
Yeah.
So I always think, and I'm always excited when the days start getting a little bit longer. I hate the dark. It's just like I don't know what it's like in Atlanta, but I'd say around 4:45 or so, the sun sets around here. That's too goddamn early.
It's early.
That should be illegal.
I've had a problem. I've been waking up. You'd be shocked, Jeff. Even I am naturally waking up around like 6:37 these days. I'm not like up and out of bed, but I'm awake, and it's
starting to rouse.
It's starting to rouse. But it's like pitch black out here, and I keep thinking I'm waking up, and I'm like, it must be 3 a.m, and it's like time to get up, and I don't like that. So yeah, it's good. And I think this episode will actually air probably after New Year's sometime. So we might be a little behind for listening to this, but this is when we are recording this episode, and glad the days are getting longer again.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to have beautiful sunsets in Costa Rica. I can't think of a time before I was going to Costa Rica that I wasn't in my head going, oh, fuck yeah, I'm going to Costa Rica. I am excited. There's some places, I'm always getting excited to travel, but there's some places like Costa Rica where I'm just like, oh, I'm going to have such a good time. This is going to be amazing.
You just know it's magic.
It's magic.
It's never not magic.
It's never not magic in Costa Rica. I feel the excitement for you. So
Thank you.
Great.
And you're heading to Colombia around then too?
Booked my flight.
Look at us, booking flights. When are you going?
Yeah, I'm going to stay a little bit longer. 12th of January. I've got 3 weeks there. And then Buenos Aires, I think I'm looking at probably about 4 weeks total there. That should be enough time there, right? Should get a feel for it in 4 weeks. Let's talk about these careers. These quote-unquote careers that you should stop reading about on the internet.
I was going to say, to be fair, they are careers. It's just, as we think about this, I guess what we like to share when you look at the internet, you mentioned this before, when you look at lists, you look at blog posts, it's the same sort of thing when you like Google like what disease you have and you're like, I'm convinced I'm dying, you know, like there are real things that can happen. These are real careers that people do. And I can talk about, I have some clients, personal clients who have done these careers. But as Jeff and I think about like, when we are not exaggerating when we say we have met, lived in houses with, lived in like places with, traveled with, worked alongside, literally hundreds, like that is not an exaggeration, of digital nomads who are real people with real careers who have, you know, trying to grow their income, save for retirement, like live a great life, you know, actual, you know, real career focused people who are traveling the world and have been for years. And as we looked at these lists, these that were on here were like, we don't have a personal friend or someone that we have traveled with that does these particular things that show up on the list time and time again as their career. So just a little caveat with that. So let's jump in, Jeff, if you want to share number 1 on the list, and we will go through the 6 that most commonly we see just aren't what we feel most nomads are pursuing.
Number 1 is a virtual assistant.
Yeah.
And this one is really tricky because what the job is basically somebody that helps you with any of your day-to-day stuff. So pretend that a lot of times I think it's for probably small businesses, small business owners. They need help doing just random tasks for their organization. Could be anything. Could be they need to build a spreadsheet. It means maybe they need to write something, maybe need to update the website regularly. Could be social media posting. It's anything, and it's all online. And it's really, really tricky because I kept looking at this and the job description and thinking, yeah, that's a digital nomad job. That's perfect. I mean, that is something, it's online. You could probably have a bit of flexibility with the job. It's a lot of times people that do this do it for part-time hours, 10 to 40 hours, somewhere between 10 to 40 hours per week. So in my head, intuitively, I'm like, that makes sense. That should be a digital nomad job. I've never met one of them. Never.
Yeah. And to add to that, I would say 100%. And we have a lot of people as part of the Beach Commute community who are looking at executive assistant work, which is at a little bit of higher level, who are basically looking to be like the right-hand man for a CEO of a company, or like, I don't know. It's, I guess, a little bit more. You need a little bit more skills, a little bit of a step up. But the virtual assistant, I think that you see, I want to say one of the biggest reasons why you don't typically see that for digital nomads is, and this for, I guess this is factually, I don't love that this happens in the world, but if you think about different wages all over the world, a lot of people who are hiring virtual assistants these days, because there is a more global economy, like if you're a small business owner, I've worked with virtual assistants in these ways in various businesses, but they're often in the Philippines or in India or in other places that just have lower wages. And so a lot of people who are looking for a wage to be able to travel the world in this way and be able to afford to go to any country or place you want, if you're not living in one of those countries, call it, you know, in Asia, where we talk a lot about the cost of living. A lot of digital nomads go to these countries to live because it's more affordable in many ways. But that's where a lot of virtual assistants are, and they're mostly in place in their homes in those countries doing virtual work, but it's not typically digital nomad, like wages that afford travel and life in this way, unless you are working, you know, a lot of people who have been sort of assistants and now are these executive assistants, more high end. So it is higher wages. That might be possible, and I know people in our community look for that, and we share jobs for that sometimes. But as the typical, just like the virtual assistant that you think of, I also think maybe it's like people who have kids or stay at home and just want, some extra income, flexibility that they can do, in between things, or if you just want part-time or something in addition, or people start as that and then get a little bit more niche into like assistant for specific type of work that you can then charge more. But that's why I think I can't think of one of our hundreds of friends who works as a virtual assistant, who travels as a digital nomad.
Yeah, and more like people that, I'm thinking of more commonly, people that are assistants to the team. Virtual assistant almost implies they're not really part of the team. Right. But I would think of somebody as almost like a marketing assistant or a marketing coordinator. I've met quite a few people.
Yes, like the more specific, more niche skills.
Yeah, a little bit more niche skills. Like I've got some WordPress background. I've got some like email marketing background and can do this. But the virtual assistant kind of implies it's a no skills necessary type of job.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just like something that people don't have time to do, so they outsource it, which is typically why you would see those outsourced to developing countries.
Exactly. And like you said, if there are a lot of people who have those more niche skills, like you said, within WordPress or social media or whatever, and so they're not calling themselves virtual assistants in that way. It's like similar type of work, but for a specific type of thing you need help with, and then you can charge a little bit more because you have that skill set. So I think that covers that one pretty well. But that's why it's like, theoretically, it seems great. It seems like a thing that you should be able to do while you travel. But that's why, I think it's not really seen. And if you really want to truly have the freedom and income to travel anywhere in the world, that's probably not the best career path to pursue.
Let's bring it to number 2. This one's a head scratcher. Transcriber pops up on every list.
It's so strange. Can I say why I think it's on there?
Please, yeah. I need answers to this one.
You need answers, because we have never met a transcriber.
In any part of aspect of my life. Traveling or not.
This is my hunch. I think it must have made some list many years ago, and it just keeps, like you said, regurgitated, especially like because you're so into like SEO, search engine optimization world, and like you understand the list and all of that. What you've told me for many years, whether it's even just like, hey, what's the best camera to buy? And you see like, here's a list of top 10 things that are all paid or whatever. And then people, from what I've understood from you, let's talk about cameras for a second. It's like other people don't do original research. They Google the lists, and then they take those lists and make their own list, and it like keeps getting amplified. I think that this was maybe on a list, maybe accurately like a decade ago, and it just like keeps getting perpetuated by people who don't actually know. And so it's there. But if you think about now, like ChatGPT exists, there's all sorts of transcription software, like transcribers, I think are the taxis, the Uber, or the Blockbusters of the past that are just outdated. Like you don't need that as a career or option anymore. So I think, like you said, if you were to read it back in the day, and it's like, yeah, that does make sense. Like, I don't need to be on calls. I can do it on my own time. It doesn't matter when I do it. I don't really need internet to do it. Like, it is the perfect digital nomad job in theory, but I think it has been displaced by technology. So that's my hunch.
I'm completely in agreement with you. When we upload these podcasts to Spotify, it automatically transcribes everything now.
Yeah.
AI transcribes everything.
Love you, AI.
That's point number 1, and that's a huge one. So I think just that industry, transcription, is going to struggle a little bit because of that. SEO people are a problem. God, we are just a
You're
menace
a problem, Jeff.
to search. So what happens, because just a little bit more context in that, because I was in a SEO content marketing background, a lot of the content you see on the web is not written by people that do the thing that they're talking about in the article. They're written by writers, and writers get their information not from experience. They get it from other pieces of content. So basically, content writers are doing the same thing that ChatGPT is doing. It's just scraping the web and putting together a can of spam. It's just a whole, who knows where it came from. It's just it's just an amalgamation of crap into this article that's not based in experience. So that's probably why you're seeing that one. I think you got a good hunch on that.
Yeah, I think that's why, again, like why you want to listen to a podcast, because it's the same when we look at lists of like destinations or whatever, and I'm like, people aren't going to these places, or it's not a good digital nomad place. That'd be fun to do. So it's the same sort of thing of like, we're sharing like the real research, which is not research. It's like our actual just experience of what we know to be true from real people living this, versus a list that some writer researched that they researched, and it just kind of got, I don't know, this false information just keeps spreading. I mean, we know there's a lot of false information online these days. So yeah, this is one of them.
Best cities for digital nomad. I had to just bring it up real quick. Austin, Texas. Like, we got to do this. Okay. We've got to do this.
That'll be a new one.
Guaranteed, not written by a digital nomad. I guarantee it. So everybody just got a little content marketing background to listen. So.
Yeah. All right. So with that, what's number 3, Jeff?
Number 3 is teacher, online teacher. So I think a lot of times what that implies is like a language teacher, right? Yeah. That's what comes to mind for me, which is a job. I dated somebody that was a teacher for Chinese students teaching English. I've met other people that were online teachers as well. I mean, pretty common. You see it a lot. Never seen it in the digital nomad sphere. Not once. You got got any hunches on why that might be too?
I have hunches, and just to add to what you said as well, I have a client who had another full-time job and did that just as extra income. He would wake up at like 6 a.m. to do it and like teach for an hour or two. And then I do know a couple of digital nomads who have been traveling for just as many years as us, who started like back when they were maybe 23 or 24, like after college. They were like, this is a way that I can go to South Korea or go to Thailand and I'll teach English like more physically on the ground. And it was a low salary job, but it got them this cool experience. And because they loved their experience abroad so much, they then found other digital nomad jobs to like, so that they could actually live this life. And so I think back then, they're around our age as well. I think it was a popular job because digital nomading didn't really exist then. Like the internet didn't exist. I'm like, back in our day, like it wasn't that long ago. But when we graduated college,
really dating us there.
Really dating us. Like digital nomadism wasn't a thing. Like the internet didn't exist the way that it does today. Maybe there were a couple people doing it, but it was not known. Like Instagram didn't really exist. It wasn't like travel bloggers everywhere doing this. So the people, I think that this got on the list because like the very first pioneers of people who kind of could live abroad, it wasn't even traveling much, were teaching English abroad. And so I think because of that, it's like the falsity that has been perpetuated throughout the years by the list that just keep on naming it. But I think it's not on there because it's not, from my experience, everyone I know who has done it personally, it's not a type of salary that you can travel to any country you want, travel all over, live anywhere. But if you're like,
low,
hey,
isn't it? It's this. If I remember right, she was not getting paid very much.
It is lower. I think it's just a lot of people don't do it like full-time hours. It's like you kind of just do it maybe a couple hours a day. But I will say, if you're maybe younger and listening to this, or you just want to do something different, like it's a cool thing, maybe if you're just out of college, to go do for a year somewhere and just pick a country if you want to like immerse yourself there. But if you really want the freedom to, hop all over, travel any country, it's probably not the salary that you're looking for. And now there's also so many other online, like back then also probably, I don't actually know, but Duolingo, Rosetta Stone, Babbel, like all the software and language teaching things online didn't exist in the same way either. And so I feel like that's also replaced a lot of it too.
That's a really good point, is like kind of a jumping off point to have a little bit more flexibility with your life, to maybe travel a little bit. Friend Ryan was a teacher in China, I think for four years, something like that. Learned how to speak Chinese. And there's a lot of benefits to that. I just don't think it's conducive to being a digital nomad because, like you said, the pay typically, from what I saw, it's not that great. Like my ex-girlfriend was not getting paid that well. You are online at weird times. She was working at 1 a.m, and as their time is never going to adjust. They were not going to adapt to you for these lessons. So wherever you go in the world, you're going to be working these really weird times. And typically, most of the people I met are teaching Asian students. So you're going to be locked into that time zone. And on top of that, you have to have impeccable Wi-Fi. Or like, there's no excuses for like choppy Wi-Fi while you're teaching students that are paying, their parents are paying money and expecting quality. Perfect silence while you're teaching. It's really not that conducive to travel. So that's probably why we don't see it so much.
So before we hop into number 4, we will ask a quick favor. If you have been listening to this podcast for a while, or if you're loving this episode, if you could literally take 5 seconds, like pick up your phone in your hand right now, and just give this the thumbs up, 5-star, subscribe, whatever that means on your platform. It really helps other people find it, and we're so appreciative. I can't even speak. We're appreciative because it keeps this podcast going. So with that, Jeff, what is number 4 on our list?
We just got a new review. Some people are doing it.
Is it like in this moment, or you're
Beach
just looking
Commute? I just looked it up. Beach Commute.
I thought you meant like you got like a notification like at this second.
No, I was cool. Curious. I'm like, are people doing this? So like, we just got one a few days ago. Beach Commute helped me land the job of my dreams.
Hey. All right. Well, if you're
I'm not making this up. You can look it up.
Like, Jeff, did you make this up?
I'm not promoting this. No, that's great.
Sure. That's awesome. Well, if you wrote that and you're listening now, we're so happy. Yay. Let us know. Write us in and let us know what job you got.
All right. Well, that's a bright note. Let's carry that into the most mind-boggling one. It's probably
Love
our
this one.
favorite BS job.
It's not, I want to say before you say, it's not a BS job. It's just hard to get to this level. But okay,
It's
with
BS
that,
to think that you're going to get... Yeah, right. Okay.
it's possible. It's possible for anyone, but give it to us.
Okay. Pipe dream comes to mind. Social media influencer.
Okay.
So first off, never met one, period. Anywhere. In any sphere of life. I have never met a social media influencer. I've met people that try to. Maybe a few that try to.
Okay.
But never met one that actually makes a living doing it. Like an actual living where they get paid enough money to live, to travel, to be a digital nomad. Never seen it. And I think we talked about this before the podcast. It seems to be one of those things that people want to do a lot, just like acting. Because there's so much, you get showered by attention. You get that dopamine kick with like thousands of fans liking your Instagram post. You're getting paid for doing that. It's very much like a celebrity, and people, I think, have it in their mind where all I have to do is share my life and I get to be a celebrity. Anybody can be a celebrity. It seems so accessible because I've got Instagram right there and I can just do it, as opposed to going to Hollywood. It just feels like you can do it. But it's really like you've got tens of thousands of people doing it, and it's just like a celebrity. What is it? 0.001% are the only people that actually make any real money doing it, that actually succeed in doing it.
Yeah.
It seems so attainable, but it's not.
Yeah. It's such an interesting one on here. I think it's like a weird meta thing that because a lot of people learn about digital nomad life or learn about travel in general through these influencers on Instagram or on TikTok or online, it seems like, oh, if I want to travel, like that's who you're seeing on your feed, because the people like us and all of our digital nomad friends, we're not trying to be influencers. And so you don't often see on your feed like, oh, you could just be a regular person and have I say, quote, real career. I actually think being an influencer is one of the hardest jobs. Like, I personally would not want it. It seems exhausting. It seems like you always have to capture your life and content. And some people do love the attention and love to be the celebrity and love to be shared. That personally doesn't seem fun to me personally. But I respect the people doing it because I think it takes so much work, so much vulnerability, so much like your life is just, it bleeds into your everyday. I know when I first started traveling, my family kept being like, why don't you be a travel, capture all your stuff and share your tips. And I was like, that sounds exhausting. Like, I want to be present when I travel and not having to record everything I do and like take pictures of everything. And I want to live presently. So I want to say, like, I have a lot of respect for people who do it. They hustle. And I'm also really grateful. Like, there are some travel influencers or people online who I do follow, and I love to follow them. Like, it's fun to see the places they are, just the same as it. But I also have like a million friends on Instagram of real digital nomads who are sharing their real life too. So I see that. But that's not who most people are going to find who might be in this audience listening. Like, until you become a digital nomad and make real friends living it, those aren't the people who kind of show up online. So I think that there's a misconception because that's what a lot of people see as like the path forward to this freedom. You're like, if I want to travel, I need to get paid to travel. That's the only way. So I think with that, we're here to tell you that there are a gazillion, other career paths and whatever you might be interested in. And like Jeff said, episode 120, I think it was, is the 7 most popular, just the most common jobs that we see if you want to take a listen to that. But the point is, you don't have to be an influencer in order to travel if you want a career. And like Jeff said, it's really hard to do, even if that is your dream. That's one of those things I would say, do it on the side of a real job while you're still getting paid. And if it does take off, like, fabulous, great for you if that's what you want to do. I know maybe one person personally who has somewhat made this successful and turned it into a career, like, of traveling. But other than that, it's, as Jeff said, like, if I think of the hundreds of digital nomad friends that we have, and maybe it's just not our circle. I'm sure there's a whole circle of influencers and they all know each other too, but it's not who we typically see, work alongside or see like in this lifestyle living this way.
Yeah, do it if that's your passion, but don't put all your eggs in that basket because it's like That's like gambling as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
With really, really bad odds.
Yeah. And I know for me, like as a career coach, I'm like, if that's your dream and that's your calling, I'm like, don't give up on it. Like just because we said it's hard. It's the same as like if you have a dream to like be in the music industry, like you might have to have a side job while you're like pursuing that passion and making an income. And like don't give up if you want it. But there's also ways to make another steady income while you are pursuing that. That would be my 2 cents as a career coach there.
We're going to take a quick pause right there to tell you about our Remote Travel Jobs Daily. Are you currently looking for a job that's going to allow you to become a digital nomad and work and travel around the world? Well, you've got exactly what you're looking for. Every week, as part of our free plan, we handpick 2 jobs that are perfect for becoming a digital nomad that'll allow you to work and travel around the world while you're doing it. That's 2 jobs per week for free. We also have a premium plan in which we send out 2 hand-picked jobs that are also perfect for becoming a digital nomad every single day, Monday through Friday. So that's 40 hand-picked jobs by us that are ideal for becoming a digital nomad. So make sure you take a look at these 2 plans. It is beachcommute.com/traveljobs. That's beachcommute.com/traveljobs. All the details will be there. So number 5, actually number 4 bleeds into number 5 pretty well, I think. It's a travel blogger.
Yeah.
Travel blogger. Can you explain what a travel blogger is?
Yeah. So I feel like this preceded like the social media influencer. So I feel like the travel bloggers existed before Instagram really blew up and TikTok. So in the past, if you were to go somewhere, you might be like, what do I do when I go to Japan? You know, where should I stay when I go to Prague? Like, what are the 10 things to do in the Philippines? You know, whatever that looked like. And a lot of people would get paid, 1 from site traffic or 2 from different advertisements that they might have, or you might get paid to stay in a hotel or go on a tour or get, recommend certain things as a travel blogger. So if I think about influencers are more on the kind of social Instagram, TikTok, like that sort of YouTube even. I would say the OG travel bloggers were more writing copy, writing the list that we've talked about, the 10 places, the 10 things to do, the here's where to stay, all of that. So with that, the only people I can think of off the top of my head, I do know our good friend Amanda Pointer, actually, who was on, she was on way back when. She was on, we interviewed her. So she travels with us. She works for a couple who are travel bloggers, and they started, I think they actually started their career path teaching English abroad. They loved travel so much that they started traveling more, documenting their experiences on a blog. Their blog has tons of traffic. It's called Two Wandering Souls. It's a great blog. So they are
really well.
Yeah, like they are travel bloggers. They still make their full-time income through this. Amanda works for them, so she works for that. So that's the only, but I say that's like one example I know of hundreds of people. I don't know anyone else who does that as a career. I know Amanda still listens to our podcast, so hi Amanda, we love you. If you listen to this, but yeah, that's like the example I can give. That's what it is. And I think like an influencer, this one is hard to break into now because it's like there's so much content on the internet. And I think a lot of people now, like these two worlds are kind of combining between travel blogger and influencer. A lot of people are like need that social media presence to then drive traffic to their blogs for that and kind of vice versa. So they kind of roll together, but I don't know. Have you met any travel bloggers in the wild as a digital nomad or any other thoughts on that one?
Same thing. People that were kind of trying to do it. But for the reasons we talked about with SEO and content earlier, it's so saturated at this point. You've got a lot of travel bloggers that want to get into the space and they're writing tons of content. They've got a lot of content writers who are not travel bloggers saturating the space with a bunch of content in the same area. And it's just now there's just so many people trying to do this. And all of these locations have been covered so well. I mean, there's only so many hubs where people travel to that it's basically you've got the initial people that broke into the space kind of own it from an SEO standpoint. The content's been around so long. One of the major ranking factors to having content that ranks is having a lot of links. So a lot of people from other websites linking to this content, which sends a strong signal. It's like a vote. Basically, you're telling Google, hey, I vouch for this website. And the websites that get vouched for a lot, because they've been around so long and they're so reputable, take all of the links. And because they've got so many links, they get more links. So it's this virtuous cycle for all of these initial websites that got into the space. And they just keep winning and winning and winning. And the people that try to put in their ticket, like at the very end, when it's too late, it's too late. So it's pretty tough. But I don't want to discourage people from doing travel blogging. I've written before on my travels before. It's fun. It's great.
I'm grateful for people who do it, and I know a lot of people love it. So yeah, so we're like, we don't want to knock it. We're just saying also maybe start with another job for income. Do it on the side. If it takes off, great. If you love it, do it for the joy of it as well. But it's a harder pipe dream to break into. It doesn't mean it's impossible, but it's not like the best thing. If you want to start traveling tomorrow, right? There's other jobs that will start to pay you an income right away versus relying on something that might take years to grow and establish, if at all.
Okay, so let's bring it to number 6. Number 6 is a travel nurse. And Marissa, to be honest with you, I'd never even seen these two words together before looking up these digital nomad lists. I didn't even know this was a thing, especially not a digital nomad thing. Do you know what a travel nurse is? Other than
I do. And I'll tell you, you're like, this is on there.
Which was regurgitated from somebody else too. So give me the real lowdown.
So the first time I actually heard about a travel nurse was way back in my early digital nomad years, not from someone who was living as a digital nomad, but a digital nomad friend I have was renting her place out at home in Boston. And she rented to travel nurses because they were reliable people who could pay decent amount of rent. They got paid well, and they were always there for kind of 3 months. It was usually just one person who took care of things, was never really there. So they were good. What I learned about a travel nurse was they were good people to rent out your homes in the US too while you're traveling. So with that, to explain what a travel nurse is, I haven't seen this abroad in the same way. But at least in the U.S., there are people who have been in the nursing profession, maybe worked in a hospital or at a doctor's office, in one place traditionally. But there's a lot of times where doctors' offices or hospitals will be short of staff, and so they'll take the travel nurses basically get paid really well to go for 3 months at a time to usually to a different state, usually to some random locations you might not always want to be at. Sometimes they are good. And you go and you work there for 3 months. So someone might come to Atlanta for 3 months and get placed in a hospital here. Someone might go to Texas, to DC, to Nebraska, who knows? So I know people who have done it in the US, and for them, it's a cool way. You're like, cool, I get paid. They'll pay for your housing. They'll pay for you to get there. They'll pay a good salary. So you actually make a lot of money because you're also saving a lot of money on expenses as a travel nurse in the US. And it's a cool way if you don't have a family or you just want to kind of explore different places, you get paid to live different places within the US. So that said, I know I actually have I've had multiple clients I can think of personally who have done one-on-one career coaching with me who are working in the nursing field and want to become a digital nomad. And for them, I know it's been really hard because there's a lot of restrictions that you can't practice your license the same way as if you're a lawyer, you can only practice in certain states. The same way a lot of licenses work, you can't leave the US and practice the same nursing, just like in any country that you want to go on the ground. So there are different people who do, it's kind of harder to find online jobs. I know nurses who have just said that they're not pretended they're not traveling. And like you said, you just kind of get online and do Zoom calls or things like that. But they would get in trouble technically if someone knew they weren't in the States or where they said they were. So with that, I think the reason that this gets perpetuated on the list is it is kind of it's not fully nomadic. You don't have full freedom from your laptop to be anywhere at any time. But it is kind of nomad-ish, not digital nomad-ish, but nomad-ish within the States. And I think it got on some list somewhere and people are like, cool, you can travel as a nurse. There's a travel nurse. Here it is on the digital nomad list. So this is not one I would pursue specifically as a digital nomad.
It's not a digital nomad job. Yeah.
Exactly. And there are plenty of nurses who you can find great writing like you can become a technical writer about things that specifically you in the field need to know. Like there are other cool ways you can jump from the medical profession and do other things traveling. We have a friend who does cancer research, oncology research while she travels. Diego has traveled with a brain surgeon who does research every now and then, like, and he travels while he does that. But as far as the nurse goes, it's kind of like it's in one place and it's mostly in the US.
Yeah, we do need to make a distinction between travel jobs and digital nomad jobs. And I think part of the problem is like they're writing these lists and they're perpetuating these jobs that include travel, and they think in their head, oh, it's traveling. The writer thinks, oh, it's traveling and working at the same time. Very, very different. Some jobs just do not lend themselves to digital nomad. Yeah, that's a good point. There are some jobs where you cannot leave the States. We see that all the time on the remote job boards. Like a lot of them, yeah, it's remote job, fully remote in the US, in California. Yeah. That's not that is technically remote. It should say work from home.
Yes.
That should be a work from home job.
Agree.
Maybe LinkedIn should include a new filter that says work from home and then
versus
remote.
Yeah.
Because these are really, really different things.
Yeah.
It's very
you can actually travel and cross borders and all of that. So.
All right, so that's number 6. Here's our accidental bonus one. 6 plus 1 is data entry. I don't know why this is on the list. I mean, I remember coming up when I was just like coming up through college, hearing this as a job for, like kind of like a no skills, just breaking into the industry. You can do data entry. I don't know what that even means. Is that an old job that's just kind of like, is it like transcription where it's just kind of outdated? And who's doing data entry and where? Where is this happening? Explain to me.
I do not know. There's some things I know, like...
What did it used to be? Even?
I don't know. I feel like there's things, like you've talked about, even someone who's helped you with like SEO stuff, who's like entering data like into different places or taking data from one and like adding it into equations or other places that you need or into like pretty charts and things like that. But
it's going to be all automated now, right?
It's all automated now. So this is, I think the moral of the story is like these are old jobs have been perpetuated, outdated jobs have been perpetuated, or things that seem like travel jobs but aren't actually digital nomad jobs that have been perpetuated. So all these lists, I think, are written by, like you said, writers who are just researching old lists, and it's all getting amplified. So I would say I've never met someone who does data entry as a job remote, like as a nomad or not. I've never actually heard this anytime in the last decade.
Here's the description. Here's the official description.
Give it to me.
Data entry is the process of entering information or updating records in a database or computer system. What does a data entry clerk do? Data entry clerk. I haven't heard that word in a long time either. Data entry professionals use computers and data processing programs to input information. Okay, so I think the modern version of that has translated to Google Sheets, Excel, which is mostly automated at this point. And then the other aspect of it where it says database, that's a lot of Salesforce work, and that's a very specialized job. That should maybe start getting included in some of these actual digital nomad jobs. So I know quite a few people that are specializing in databases, and specifically HubSpot, Salesforce. That's a great job because you can really, really specialize in that area and get paid very, very well. And that's also a great job to do while you're traveling. So maybe this has morphed into something that's way, way, way more specialized. And it's a job that's in demand. So maybe that'll make one of our lists at some point in the future.
Yeah. And with that, if Salesforce is interesting to you specifically, if you go to talentstacker.com/beachcommute, we've got a great partner who teaches and trains you to do Salesforce as a great job, someone we highly trust and like if that's something that's interesting to you. And other than that, that brings us to the end of our list, but kind of going back to what you were saying, Jeff, about the distinction between all the job boards that have work from home jobs versus like travel anywhere jobs. That's one of the things we love about Beach Commute and what we do and what we share with you. So if you're not already on our email list, if you go to beachcommute.com/email and sign up for our list, we send out 2 jobs every single week that are truly work from anywhere while you travel jobs, not just work from home jobs. So if you want to start to get a feel of what those are, what types of companies, because we as a team search the internet far and wide. We search our personal networks far and wide to find you those real, actual, like digital nomad jobs and not just work from home. So I know people who are on our list love seeing the different companies every week, seeing the different jobs that we share every week, because you don't have to waste your time scrolling through the millions of like fake lists, the work from home jobs that say remote, expired, all of that.
500 applicants already. Yeah, exactly.
Totally. That's what we specialize, and it's what we love to help you with, so you can actually get a job and start traveling right away. So with that, Jeff, anything else to add to our 7, not 6? we'll trick you with the numbers here, but anything else to add to just like the false information out in the world today?
We'll check back in on this list in maybe a year, see what it looks like, see if it's a little bit more useful. Yeah, just as a final word of advice, go to episode 120, because those are the jobs that most likely to get you to start traveling immediately and earn enough money to do it. And then listen to our last podcast that just came out in places that you can live for under $2,000. So get one of those jobs and then start traveling into one of these places where you can live for under $2,000 every single month.
You also might know, Jeff, you're better with the episode numbers than I am. There's an episode, I think Diego and I recorded around this, I want to say it was about a year ago, but I want to say it was like 19 of the most unusual jobs, or it might have been not. I think it was a 2-part episode. Either way, something if you search for like the number of unusual jobs. So we've got the 7 most common ones in episode 120, but there's also some that we did that were like, if you just want to think outside the box of other cool digital nomad jobs that we've actually seen that are maybe unusual, to give you some inspiration if you don't like the 7 most common ones. Like, there are tons of things you can do. It's not exclusive to just the generic jobs, but this episode was important because we don't want you to go pursuing and trying to train and search for these particular jobs that aren't actually, gonna give you the salary or exist in the world to travel. So yeah, it's my final words.
And with that, I guess this will be coming out in the new year. So
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year to everybody.
Should have started the episode that way. Oh well.
Yeah. Happy New Year to everybody, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.